Yo guys, what's good? Out on the MT10 today, and we're gonna have a chat about the difference between Yamaha MT10 and the Yamaha MT09. Now, this isn't the latest gen MT09. It's based on my personal experience with the previous generation that I owned. I had the ice fluo white one, and that was standard, not an SP. And I loved it. It was my first bike. The engine felt like it pulled like a train through the lower rev range, that is. Really torquey engine, good fun to ride. Would wheelie on you a lot if you'd let it. And it was a great first bike. I don't really have many complaints because I had such a good time on it. And the best thing about it is it was cheap and cheerful as far as bikes go. I picked up a X-Demo for £7,200. That was on a 69 plate, which was new at the time, and bang for buck, I mean, that's pretty cheap for how much fun you can have on one of those machines. Now, the MT10 I've had for a few months. I'm just coming up to 1,382 miles, and I have to say, already I can see it's just a much better all-round bike. I know it's a lot more expensive, and it is the top of the range naked bike for Yamaha, so you would kind of hope that it would be worth the extra money, but I think all round it's just a much more refined bike. The main difference I think you would notice from getting off the previous generation MT09 onto one of these is the confidence you get in the corners on this bike. So when you're entering a corner, the front end on this just feels really planted. You feel like you can trust the bike a lot, and it's not going to wash away underneath you. With the MT09 I had, it almost felt like a supermoto, and I felt like the front end was constantly super lively, almost taming it the whole time. Even in a straight line, it was just light all the time. It just felt like when you were pinning it, it just felt like the front wheel was just hovering all over the place. And now I look back on riding that bike, I realise, okay, it didn't have the best suspension as far as naked bikes go, but again, you get what you pay for, and it was cheap and cheerful, as I say. So I think that's the main thing you would notice getting off one of those onto one of these, is that the suspension on this just feels really good, and I can corner a lot faster on this with confidence. I don't have to go around a corner thinking, oh, front end feels a bit loose here, which is a really nice feeling when you're a average rider like me. I wouldn't say I'm a good rider at all. My first bike was the MT09, and I haven't done any track days, just fast road riding really. So that's the main thing. The second thing I would say you will notice is the engine. So the engine on this is out of the Yamaha R1, as a lot of you probably already know, and it just has a lot more power. It's much nicer for overtaking cars because it doesn't matter what gear you're in, you can always just have instant torque to get round, cars in your way, and it's just so much fun. The CP4 engine is a fantastic engine, and anyone that's had the chance to ride one of these bikes will tell you they just love the engine, and so do I. I absolutely love the engine. It's just so much fun. Before I started this video today, I've just been having so much fun trying to practice wheeling, and just the sound it makes even with a standard exhaust is phenomenal. Really enjoy it. It's not to say that the MT09's engine wasn't great, because I think that as far as that kind of range goes, in terms of comparing it to maybe the Triumph 765 or the Suzuki GSX 750, whatever they are called, I'm not sure, it's an amazing engine, and I actually think it's more. I've ridden Triumphs, and obviously I do ride Yamahas, so you could say I'm biased, but I do prefer the engine in the 09 to the 765s, which I think is its main rivalry if you looked at what to compare it to in the sports naked world. So I think that the engine is still good on that bike, but the engine in this is it's top notch. Like, it's so much fun. And I did test ride a Triumph 1200 RS, and for me it was just a bit too much power, I think it's got 185 brake, and also rode my friend's 1290 Duke R. That was the previous gen, but it was a 69 reg, I think, or something like that. And again, it was just like, it had so much power. For me, as a novice or amateur rider, I couldn't tell where my feel was with the throttle. So when I was riding the 1290, it just felt like I had no kind of feel through the throttle for where it was at, because it just had so much torque and so much power. So if you're an average rider, I think that the MT10's got a decent amount of power. It's 165 brake horsepower now, which is more than enough to go out and have some good fun on. And yeah, engine's fantastic. Other thing you'll definitely notice a difference between the MT09 and this is it's a much bigger bike. This is a big bike. I parked this up next to the previous gen MT10, and it's even bigger than that, especially with these new air intakes they put on the bike. It feels much bigger. So not to say, I think it could scare a few people that have been on sports bikes, because they might think, well, oh, looks like that road's closed, I'm gonna go this way. Oh, I was hoping to go and do a nice road today. Yeah, I think it could like intimidate people, just the size of this bike, but it's actually, when you get on it and start cornering it, much nicer handling than the 09, and it gives you more confidence. So actually it looks bigger, might look a bit more intimidating, but once you get on it, it's much nicer to ride. So they're the main things I would say you can tell the difference on. Another one would be obviously the display here. There's a lot more electronics which probably help you out more than you realise on the bike if you're riding it hard, which is also an added bonus, but I won't go too much into that. I think they're my three things that I notice the most when getting on this and doing some decent mileage on it, after knowing how my 69 plate MT09 rode. That's it. So if you're thinking about making the jump up from the MT09 to an MT10, I would say go test ride one. Even if you can't test ride the latest gen, because they're quite hard to get hold of, go test ride the previous gen, because it's the same chassis, same engine, rides very similar, and see what you think. Alrighty, over and out. See you later.